Number 5 is the fear of victory. This episode has a concept that Supernatural would eventually do much better, where Robin gets infected with fear by the Scarecrow. It could have been an opportunity to get some laughs out of Dick like Supernatural played it, or it could have been a dark and meaningful look at what scares and drives Robin. But no, it turns out it was all just a plan for Scarecrow to infect athletes as a sports gambling scheme. Now that is a pretty weak plan for any villain, but especially one that has the ability to weaponize fear. What are you doing? Number 4, Animal Act. What could be better than an episode of Batman at the circus? A lot could be better. Especially since this episode just ends up being a series of fights between Batman and the gang and a bunch of brainwashed circus animals. It also features gorillas who can use keypads and access elevators. It's all some silly master plan by the Mad Hatter disguised as a clown to accomplish something or other in the name of something, and it's all very stupid, which is also kind of a wasted opportunity when it starts with Dick taking the new Robin to his old circus, which could have explored a lot of the emotion and backstory that we've come to know from Dick Grayson, but all that is wasted for the circus silliness. Number 3, The Terrible Trio. See there? Trio, 3. The Terrible Trio is about 3 rich and privileged dude bros who start stealing, blowing stuff up, and hurting people because they are bored and they believe they are above everyone else.
But they've got more money than the Mint. Why would they steal? Because we were bored!
While this makes it easy to hate the trio and want Batman to beat all of their faces in, it doesn't make them any more interesting or any less frustrating to watch. Number 2, I got a Batman in my basement. This episode focuses on a few kids who find Batman after he's had a bad run-in, and he's so weak that they drag him down to their basement to fix him up or something. The kids are stupid and annoying, and the episode is actually pretty boring overall, and it also is kind of an insult to the Penguin since he's thwarted by a bunch of kids. And really, when you look at the situation as a whole, they really kind of make things worse on Batman. They find him half out of his Batmobile, poisoned and weak, and they take him down to stash him in his basement. They later find out that the antidote he needs was in the Batmobile, which is where they found him, and dragged him away. So they basically made his journey to his sun visor way too long and way too complicated, while also endangering their own lives and the lives of their friends and family. Nice. At number 1, my absolute least favorite episode of Batman the Animated Series, Tiger. So this is the one about the dude who makes cat people, and that's dumb. Now, I understand that this show debuted with an episode that introduced Man-Bat, but you had a couple of things there. You had a good man doing science for a good cause who got tragically mutated by his science. In Tiger, you got some weirdo who's like, I love cats, so I'ma make cat people. This dude's been spying on Catwoman and decides that she'd make a perfect cat woman for his already created cat man.
Ah, I see you've met Tibrus. He seems to like you, Miss Kyle.
Then some stupid stuff happens and Batman has to save her, and then the dude explodes, or maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But it's a bad episode. And then cat people. At number 5, Two-Face. One of the many reasons the Batman animated series works so well is because they gave a lot of time to exploring Batman's villains, often giving their origin stories 2-part episodes, my favorite of which being Two-Face. Now, the character of Harvey Dent had already appeared on previous episodes of Batman as Bruce Wayne's best friend. He was even engaged and almost killed by Poison Ivy. This history gave his transformation into Two-Face even more weight. It wasn't just Batman affected this time. Bruce Wayne had now lost a friend and watched him transform into a monster that he would now have to fight. And this being Batman the Animated Series, the classic accident of Two-Face's transformation wasn't quite as compelling as it could have been, so they added a story element of Harvey already suffering from mild schizophrenia even before the accident. And after his mutilation, he cracks, and the two now exist simultaneously. Not everyone likes this idea, but I dig it. Number 4, Harley's Holiday. It was difficult to choose between this episode of Harley Quinn's or another fantastic episode called Harley Quinnade. Ultimately, I chose this one because it puts a spotlight on what I really love about the character. The episode starts with Harley getting released from Arkham and getting a chance to start fresh as a normal civilian. None of this goes right, of course, after a misunderstanding in a clothing store, and she's quickly pushed by society to return to her old ways.
Miss?
I tried to play by the rules, but no! They wouldn't let me go straight! Society is to blame! Back off, rich boy! I'm armed!
As a character study for Harley, there's actually a lot to unpack in this episode, as she doesn't actually want to do any harm and actually befriends a hostage that she takes. Another thing I really like is the way Batman treats Harley. He's not out to get her and lock her up like the other criminals. You get the sense that Batman really wants to help her. He wants to see her change, and he can see a part of her that doesn't like being a villain, and he tries to help her hold on to that. Number 3, Almost Got Him. This is a rare episode that's as funny as it is action-packed. Some of Batman's most famous villains gather around the poker table to tell stories of how they almost got Batman. So what we're treated to is a collection of mini-adventures showcasing each villain's unique style and talents, with Killer Crocs easily being the best. It also shows just how badass Batman is by showing him escape each villain's best attempts using their own weaknesses against them. The whole thing wraps up in a fantastic way, showing Batman will always be one step ahead of all of his bad guys. Number 2, The Trial. In Batman lore, there's a question that's often asked. Did Batman create his villains, or did they create Batman? This question is the focus of The Trial. Gotham's new DA doesn't like Batman and blames him for all the colorful bad guys running around the city. Well, the villains of Gotham agree, so they kidnap her and Batman to put him on trial. Two-Face speaks for the prosecution, of course, and with Joker as the judge. They force the DA to defend Batman, stating that if he's found guilty, they will kill them both. The episode is a fun exploration of some of Batman's rogues gallery as they play off one each other in a very fun way. My favorite thing about this episode is that Batman never says a word in his defense. He just sits there and lets the inevitable crazy of his bad guys do all the talking for him, leading to a unexpected and entertaining verdict. At number 1, my very favorite episode of Batman the Animated Series, Heart of Ice. Heart of Ice is one of the defining episodes of the Batman series because it's a perfect example of how the cartoon was way more complex than just a kid's show, and how it expanded and even improved on the Batman universe as a whole. Before this episode, Mr. Freeze was a one-note villain who froze things and did ice puns. Now, he still did this to some extent when Bruce Timm and Paul Dini got their hands on him, but they also gave him one of the most sympathetic backstories of any villain. This not only made him complex and sympathetic, it showed a different side of Batman as he gets caught up in the gray areas of crime fighting. I'd also like to give a shout out to the voice actor Michael Ansara who voiced Mr. Freeze. Along with the new origins, the show turned the villain's cold gimmick into an emotional trait. After his accident and the struggle to keep his wife alive, Mr. Freeze had also been left emotionally cold, and has no remorse for the bad things that he does. Yet the love he feels for his wife Nora is still there and as strong as ever. Michael Ansara delivers this perfectly with a nearly monotone voice that has cracks of humanity in certain moments. Batman the Animated Series did a lot of things right, and they are all here in Heart of Ice.
I can only beg your forgiveness and pray you'll hear me somehow, someplace, Some place where a warm hand waits for mine.